Well, y'all, Time Magazine named Caitlin Clark the Athlete of the Year, and she made some comments in her interview that Lord has driven white MAGA out of their mind.
Anyway, Time Magazine also chose WNBA superstar Caitlin Clark as their Athlete of the Year. But, okay, here's the problem. A lot of conservatives are having a fit over her interview.
That Lord has driven white MAGA out of their mind. Anyway, Time Magazine also chose WNBA superstar Caitlin Clark as their Athlete of the Year. But okay, here's the problem. A lot of conservatives are having a fit over her interview. Breaking news rocks the basketball world as drama unfolds at the highest level. Washington Mystics owner Sheila Johnson just unleashed a shocking attack on Caitlin Clark's Time Magazine honor the billionaire media mogul wants the entire WNBA on that cover instead. But this isn't just about a magazine. There's a billion-dollar story behind these controversial comments. No one was asking for Caitlin Clark to position herself as a right-wing hero. All she needed to do was remain neutral. She's a phenom who inspires countless young girls to play and achieve, so I still have great admiration for her, but she missed a mark on this one. From bet empire to basketball politics, we're exposing the real reason behind this jealous outburst. Stick around because this basketball drama is about to get real messy. Let's dive into this wild situation that's unfolding in the women's basketball world. Feel like I've earned every single thing that's happened to me over the course of my career, but also I grew up a fan of this league from a very young age. Like my favorite player was more like I know what this league was about. And like I said, like it's only been around 25 plus years, so I know there's been so many amazing black women that have been in this league. And continuing to uplift them, I think, is very important, and that's something I'm very aware of. If you thought the drama around Caitlin Clark was cooling down, well, grab your popcorn because things just got even more interesting. The Washington Mystics owner Sheila Johnson just came out swinging, and trust me, this story goes way deeper than just basketball. And this interview right here from the Washington Mystics co-owner Miss Sheila Johnson really shows you just how wrong Caitlin Clark is when it comes to bending the knee to individuals who will never accept her as a reason why the WNBA. So here's what went down. Time Magazine just named Caitlin Clark their Athlete of the Year. Pretty big deal, right? I mean, we're talking about one of the most prestigious honors in sports. Clark's been breaking records, selling out arenas, and basically changing the game as we know it. The magazine even threw in a sweet little bonus, an invitation to watch a Kansas City Chiefs game with Taylor Swift. Living the dream, right? Well, not everyone celebrating into Sheila Johnson, and this is where things get really interesting. Now, if you don't know who Sheila Johnson is, buckle up because this backstory is wild. We're not just talking about any team owner here. This is the woman who, along with her ex-husband Bob Johnson, built Bet Black Entertainment television from the ground up. We're talking billion-dollar empire status. You didn't see him, she essentially said, or she didn't essentially say, she said, you know, why can't you put the whole WNBA on the cover, not Caitlin Clark? Still, Johnson went on CNN, and let me tell you, she didn't hold back. She basically said Clark was getting too much attention. But here's what's fascinating. Johnson didn't just criticize the coverage. She suggested that the entire WNBA should have been on that Time Magazine cover instead of Clark. Now think about that for a second. That's like saying the whole NBA should have shared Michael Jordan's MVP trophy. Fear we have Clark derangement syndrome in our society now. This is deranged behavior. The way people are talking about her is deranged, and it only furthers the narrative that. But let's break down Johnson's argument because there's more to unpack here than a U-Haul truck. She started talking about how it's taken the WNBA 28 years to get to where it is now. Fair point, right? The league has come a long way, but then she dropped this bomb. It's not just Caitlin Clark, it's Reese. We have so much talent out there that has been unrecognized. Now here's where things get really spicy. Johnson brought race into the conversation. She straight up said she feels bad because she's seen so many players of color who are equally talented but never got the recognition they deserved. And let's be real, she's not entirely wrong about the historical inequities in sports coverage. That's a real issue that deserves attention. But here's the thing, is this really the right way to address that issue? Because let's look at Clark's actual impact on the game. We're talking about someone who's not just breaking records, she's shattering them. The viewership numbers through the roof, ticket sales arena after arena sold out, social media engagement off the charts. These aren't opinions, these are cold hard facts. And let's talk about something that often gets overlooked in all this drama. Clark has consistently been one of the loudest voices supporting her peers, including players of color. Remember when she defended Diamond to Shields Or how about when she spoke up about Angel Reese getting death threats? That doesn't sound like someone who's trying to hog the spotlight, but this story gets even more interesting when you dig into Johnson's background. This is a woman who knows a thing or two about breaking barriers along with her ex-husband. She built Bet into a cultural powerhouse. They sold it to Viacom for a cool $3 billion, making them the first African-American billionaires. That's not just breaking the glass ceiling. That's shattering it with a wrecking ball. So why would someone who's achieved so much take this stance? Well, that's where the behind-the-scenes drama comes in. After selling Bet, things got messy. Johnson's ex-husband started criticizing the network's content, saying it portrayed African Americans negatively. Meanwhile, Johnson wrote a book about their relationship's breakdown, including some pretty explosive revelations. Fast forward to today, and Johnson is a power player in the sports world as owner of the Mystics. She's part of Monumental Sports and Entertainment, which also operates the Washington Wizards and Capitals. We're talking serious influence in the sports business world. But here's what makes this whole situation so fascinating and kind of ironic. Johnson built her career by breaking barriers and achieving things that had never been done before. Sound familiar? Because that's exactly what Caitlin Clark is doing for women's basketball right now. The timing of all this is pretty interesting too. Clark is about to enter the WNBA, and there's already buzz about her potentially being the highest paid rookie in league history. Some are talking about her bringing an NFL-level sponsorship deal. That's unprecedented territory for the WNBA. When you look at the numbers, it's hard to argue against Clark's impact during the 20,123 NCAA tournament. She drew more viewers than many NBA playoff games, the IO-LSU game, most watched women's basketball game ever, period. Those aren't just good numbers for women's sports. Those are good numbers for any sport. And let's talk about that Taylor Swift invitation for a minute, because that's not just about watching a football game. It's about cultural impact. When was the last time a women's basketball player was getting this kind of mainstream attention? When was the last time they were crossing over into pop culture territory like this? The real question here isn't just about a magazine cover or individual recognition. It's about something much bigger happening in women's basketball. And to understand it, we need to look at what Johnson said about race in the WNBA. She mentioned how singling out one player creates hard feelings and leads to stew stories about racism within the league. But here's what's interesting and kind of concerning. By bringing up race in this context, aren't we risking something dangerous? Are we saying that exceptional achievements shouldn't be celebrated individually if they come from a certain demographic, because that feels like a step backward, not forward? Let's talk about the elephant in the room, money. The WNBA is at a crucial point in its history. The league is growing, viewership is up, and with players like Clark coming in, there's potential for unprecedented growth. Some analysts are predicting that Clark could help double or even triple the league's TV deals. That's life-changing money for every player in the league. And this is where Johnson's business background becomes really relevant. As someone who built a media empire, she knows exactly how valuable attention is. She understands that eyeballs equal dollars. So when she suggests spreading the spotlight around, is this really about fairness, or is it about controlling the narrative? Think about what happened with Bet. Johnson and her ex-husband built it from nothing into a cultural phenomenon, but later there were criticisms about how the network portrayed African Americans. Sound familiar? It's the same kind of complex conversation about representation and responsibility that we're having now with Clark and the WNBA. But here's something worth noting. The players themselves often seem less concerned about these issues than the owners and media. Look at Angel Reese, who's been mentioned in this controversy.